Alvin Henderson flipped on Friday, and the energy just hasn't gone away.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every Monday, Lindsay Crosby of auburndaily.com, as well as a million other things that he has going on. Alvin Henderson flipped on Friday, Lindsay, and the energy throughout the Auburn fan base, it hasn't really gone anywhere. It hasn't really dropped off at all. Every time I ran into somebody either I knew or maybe somebody that listened to the show that I ran into when we went on campus on Saturday, there was just so much energy of, yes, what a huge flip. What a huge flip. And to me, I think this is several things. One, a flip is bigger than a commitment, which is, you know, because it's two things happening. You're decommitting from the other school and then committing to the new school, not just, you know, a commitment. But it's a running back, and it's Alvin Henderson, and it's a name, Lindsay, that the Auburn fan base has been talking about for years. And at one point, it was, man, it'd be great if we could get this guy. So all of a sudden, okay, we're expecting to get this guy. Oh, my goodness, Penn State came in the last moment. But this coaching staff didn't care. This coaching staff did everything they possibly could to make sure Alvin Henderson was a priority. And I think the Auburn fan base is excited because finally a coaching staff pulled something like this off.
Yeah, this is, I think, just more reinforcement for the fans who have felt or have believed that this is a different era of Auburn recruiting. Like, it doesn't matter, even when they verbally commit somewhere else. It's obvious this staff has not given up. They don't care if this player is committed somewhere else and, you know, hashtag respect my decision and all that, because they know they still have a good chance at flipping this guy. In this case, from Penn State. He's an in-state name. And if I saw this right, this means that, like, Auburn is now dominating the in-state players in the next class. And it was a big deal for me for depth. We can get to that in a second. But I just think it's big because it shows that this coaching staff will not be stopped. Don't worry if a guy commits between now and signing day, because Auburn is always going to be in it for every player that they want to be in for. Doesn't mean they'll get them all, but they'll be in on every single one between now and signing day.
And there's so many folks within the Auburn fan base that are on the other side of this. Like, oh, well, I'll believe it when he signs in December. And to me, I want to say, okay, with everything, and it hasn't been long. I mean, it has been multiple years. Like, the resume is still building. But since Hugh Freeze and his staff has been here, you haven't really seen a whole, like, issue of them holding on to talent. You haven't seen that. They've taken talent from other places. And it's a small sample size. Sure, I get it. And Alvin Henderson's kind of developed a little bit of a reputation of, you know, changing his mind or whatever. But the reason some people think that is because everybody thought he was going to go to Auburn and he was committed to Penn State for 5 minutes. And now he's actually where we all thought he would end up. So, like, that's a weird argument and a weird assumption that people are making of Alvin Henderson, because to me, to doubt this coaching staff on the recruiting trail at this point, like, I get the whole, you know, you've been an Auburn fan your whole life, and, like, we've lost out on so many of these guys for so long, but this is different now. Nick Saban's gone. And then obviously Auburn now has a guy that's leading this charge that really cares about recruiting. It just feels different. And I think Alvin Henderson flipping from Penn State to Auburn on Friday is another example, another event kind of signifying that this change is real.
Yeah, I mean, he's the fifth commitment of the month, and every single one of them, I mean, it's three 4-stars and a 3-star, and every single one of them were guys that Alabama wanted, right? It is Auburn handling business. And like you said, he was expected to go to Auburn in the first place. And barring a change, which could happen, but barring a change, he's going to end up where we all thought he was going to be. And To me, it feels like if you are somehow turning this into a negative, it's either a biased, you just want to see Hugh Freeze fail for some reason, which is a weird take to have for an Auburn fan.
No, they're out there.
Or you just don't have faith that he's going to stay in the class between now and signing day, which I understand. But at the same time, we have to go with what he said publicly as of now. I mean, he committed. He said like he understood he made the wrong decision. He wanted to rectify that, and he's locked in. Okay, great. I'm going to take him at his word until he gives us reason otherwise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, his latest action of flipping to Auburn matches literally everything he's ever done throughout the commitment over last year, with the exception of the 5 minutes he was committed to Penn State. So I think Alvin Henderson is a tremendous addition to this class, and I also think he's very likely to stay as a part of Auburn's class. And obviously,
I'm glad we got him.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it feels weird, but it is a position of need when you look at running back. I mean, they're going to probably add multiple. We all expect them to add 2. There's a school of thought that has Auburn potentially adding 3 running backs in this class. I don't think I'm quite there, but I get it. I get the case that you can make for it. I would just rather have a transfer in this situation. Yeah. But with Damari Austin and Jeremiah Cobb being the only guys that have eligibility after the season in the running back room, you need Alvin Henderson, Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there. You have what feels like a high ceiling player that you're not afraid if you need to plug him in his freshman year. You're not afraid to plug him in and give him some carries. Right. And as of now, the class is set up where you're going to need to develop him some his freshman year because Austin is going to be out of eligibility after 2025. And so it would be Cobb and Alvin's number 2 at that point.
Whoever else you add in this class. Yeah,
exactly. Bar to transfer, things like that. As it stands right now, that's where you are. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Auburn tried to find a way to bring a guy in between now and the fall, but I don't know how likely that is. I mean, we're already in June. It feels like you're kind of running out of time for something like that. But I mean, as of right now, you have 3 scholarship backs going into the fall, given the unknown medical condition of Brian Battie. And so important to get Alvin Henderson. And then, like you said, at least one other. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2 high school commits and a transfer maybe going into the next season, just depending on what you think the need is for that third back and if you need somebody experienced or not.
Yeah. So all in all, Alvin Henderson, the addition of him gets Auburn a top 5 class as it currently stands, top 5 and on 3 and 2, 4, 7 and rivals. I think they're 7th on 3. So we'll see. We'll see where Auburn finishes, but I think they're going to be a consensus top 5 class when it's all said and done, especially if they land their quarterback, which we've got some Juju Lewis updates. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Lindsay, can you imagine? Can you imagine wagering on sports anywhere other than our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook?
I'm going to be honest. I wager on sports a lot, but only with FanDuel. It's the only place I would ever do it.
Yeah, sure. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. That's what the copy says. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app. They've got a great app. And dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. MLB's in full swing. Pun intended. Pun intended. And if you bet on them to do anything against the Yankees this weekend, you had a great weekend. The Juan Soto strikeout where he just walked away from the plate was insane. I don't know how you could have bet on that. I'm sure there was a way, but regardless, FanDuel's the way to do it. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Locked On Podcast Network. Lindsay, when you look at Juju Lewis, I mean, it's the biggest recruiting story in the country right now. And obviously it's a huge one here at Auburn as well. USC has his commitment currently. Nobody's really buying that right now. Even if you think USC is in the lead, he's not committed to USC as far as what I understand the word commit to mean. But he went to Colorado on an official visit this past weekend. And I'm going to be honest, I'm impressed with what Colorado did. Deion Sanders right now kind of has the reputation of being that transfer portal guy, and that's kind of it. They don't sign a whole lot of high school guys since he's been there. They pulled out the red carpet for Juju, and some of the pictures that he posted from their photo shoot there were impressive. There were scenes that some photographers caught of fans lining up with signs saying, "We want Juju, welcome home Juju." Colorado, it looks like they nailed it on the official visit for Juju Lewis.
Yeah, there was a theater in Boulder that they changed the marquee to welcome Juju to history and say, like, welcome to the town, and say, let's make history. Like you said, the fans, the restaurant called The Sink came up with the Juju burger. And I got to be honest, this feels like low-hanging fruit for Auburn. We have enough burger places.
Yeah. We
even have burger places that have burgers named after Auburn personalities, sports personalities. This feels very easy. Do an NIL deal. The player gets a cut of the money. They get the recognition. This feels like a slam dunk to do. But yeah, they really did a lot. He met whoever that Miss Peggy lady was. Everybody loves Miss Peggy, whoever she is.
Whoever Miss Peggy is. Yeah.
Some sort of like super fan. She's like 70 and everybody loves her. She's like 90 or something. Everybody loves her. But like, we've got old people he can meet. Come on. Like, we can do all of these same things. We have super fans he can meet. We have burger places. Auburn needs to do some of this stuff, but shout out to Boulder for getting this done. It's not something I've seen where a whole city kind of rallied around a high school player on a recruiting visit to the local university. Shout out to Colorado for that.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Now, my question is, it seems like Auburn staff and Hugh Freeze, like, they actually have a relationship with Juju. I don't know if Colorado staff actually has a relationship with him or not. I genuinely don't know. But my question when they were doing all of this is, like, does Juju want this? Like, is he asking for this? Is he that kind of player? Like, I don't know. Or was it even for Juju? Was it more for his dad, which is obviously a big part of his recruitment? That has been extremely well documented, regardless of where you read or follow his recruitment. His father is going to be a part of the decision, which isn't unusual. So to me, it's okay. Is Colorado, did they do enough to position themselves in front of Auburn or USC? My gut, Lindsay, says no. But there's so many national media folks that are saying, hey, watch out for Colorado with Juju Lewis. And for some reason, no national folks are biting at Auburn's chances with Juju. So I don't know if this is it's the cool thing to give love to Deion Sanders in Colorado from a national point of view, or if it's just the way Colorado handled it, it gave them more pub. I don't know. But for some reason, whenever Juju comes to Auburn, which is way more often than when he goes to Colorado, it doesn't get that level of attention. And I trust Auburn's coaching staff to acquire talent more than what Colorado has done. So it's just kind of a weird dynamic to me.
The attention might come if we make the man a dang burger. I mean, honestly.
It? Was that real? But
it
was so much more than that, right?
It was more than that. Yeah, no. I honestly think that the Colorado stuff is a little bit of Deion Sanders is cool. And if we talk about Deion Sanders and the stuff he's doing and he retweets me, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And from a football perspective, the depth chart may be nice. They've got a redshirt freshman behind his son. They've got 2 transfers that transferred in as redshirt sophomores. He'll have a chance to win a starting job whenever he gets there. Nobody looks like they're an amazing option behind his NFL-bound son. But Auburn has a pretty good depth chart and also a lot better skill position players. We've talked about this before with Camp Coleman. Lots of different NFL-bound, we expect, options to throw to high-caliber receiving targets. And it feels like, to kind of give Auburn some love here, it feels like Colorado's visit was a lot of flash, right? The burger, the marquee. A lot of the Auburn visits haven't gotten as much attention because they've probably been talking football. They've been talking
that actually matters, or whatever the deal is, or his path to playing time.
Exactly,
actual stuff that matters, right?
Exactly, and from a football argument, Auburn has a stronger case, and that's not interesting and fun and cool to talk about when you can talk about Deion Sanders, and you'll get clicks from talking about Deion Sanders. Every time at Auburn Daily, we wrote about Deion Sanders. We got tons of clicks on the story, whether or not it was a good one. So I get it. I do think Auburn has a pretty good chance here. And honestly, Juju tweeted a picture of a lion the other day. The lion?
What does that mean?
The lion is the king of the jungle. Auburn's student section is called the Jungle. He practically told everybody on the 20th he's flipping to Auburn. He was just trying to be sneaky about it by not doing a Tiger. That would be too obvious.
Some of the responses and comments and replies under that were objectively funny. Some people are thinking, "Oh, it's a big cat weekend. Like that's when he's going to flip," which is what a lot of Auburn people think. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I volunteered at church yesterday and like watched a bunch of kids during one of the Sunday school hours, and I was asking them, "What is this animal?" And I showed them a picture of a lion, and half of them said tiger. So maybe that's what we're dealing with. I don't know. Hey, speaking of like future NFL bound options in the passing game, Perry Thompson, the Auburn finally updated their roster with some of their new additions last week. Perry Thompson listed at 6'3", 222.
Which is absurd. Also, minor complaint. They updated the visual look of it too, and I don't like it. Go back to the old thing. Not a fan. You can't sort by position group.
You can't sort by position. What are they doing?
It's jersey numbers and names, and that's it, which is not helpful, guys. I want to be able to see all the running backs in one shot. Come on, you're killing me here. But no, the size of some of these guys is absurd. Now, Bryce Kane's still tiny, 5'10", 150, right? But, like I said, Cam Coleman, 6'3", 197. Perry Thompson.
Can't sort it by position. I figured it out. It's under the view tab on the far right. It's when you go to view list, you click table, and then you can sort it by position on the table.
Oh, that's so complicated. It was one click and now it's 3.
But it is possible. So
okay. All right. Credit to Auburn. They didn't take it away. They just made it harder to find that. But no,
that's fine.
That is absurd size for a wide receiver. So I don't know off the top of my head how big some of those NFL receivers that came through Ole Miss were, but that feels like you're in that territory.
Yeah, I mean, that is larger than I was expecting, which isn't a bad thing because you look at him, it's like he doesn't look overweight or oversized. Like he looks lean. There's been videos of like Cam and Perry like dancing next to each other and kind of, doing their thing where they're cooler than everybody else, which give me all of that content in the world, please and thank you. But yeah, I mean, he looks great. Like he physically, he looks fantastic.
To be that guy real quick, DK Metcalf, 6'4", 236.
That is absurd that he played receiver and it was that fast at that size.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he is now. He's probably smaller than Ole Miss. Is what he is now, but still, yeah, absurd.
Yeah, I mean, he's so fast. How is he fast? That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, Perry looks great. Very, very excited to see what he brings this fall. No question about it.
Hey, Juju, wouldn't throw into that be awesome?
Yeah, it would be awesome. Give me a DK Metcalf, please, and thank you. Who could be next to commit? My answer to this is different than it was if we had done a show yesterday. So we'll discuss that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Lindsay, just quick question, and you probably know where I'm going here, but can you imagine buying a part for your car, truck, or SUV not on eBay Motors?
Listen, I have a Jeep Wrangler, and everything from my Jeep Wrangler comes from eBay Motors.
Yeah.
Why? Zach's going to tell us.
Well, you're spending less money.
Yeah, 1.
It's easier to find.
2.
Convenience.
3.
Shows up right to your door.
It does that. I can confirm.
What else? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Who could be next to commit to the Auburn Tigers? Well, I would have said Herbert Scroggins going into the weekend. And in fact, that's exactly what I did say after we reacted and put up the show for, Alvin flipping from Penn State to Auburn Friday afternoon. was Scroggins, because he was supposed to commit. I believe it was on the 25th was what the graphic that he put up said. But he takes his visit to Miami, and then he puts out a post on X, commitment date postponed. So, like, that's not the greatest sign in the world, just reading between the lines and kind of looking at, what could cause some of these things. A quote that he told King Sport, the On3 site down there: "It was amazing, man. I'm glad I took this visit. The people, the place here, it's different. You can really open up and talk with them. It was amazing the whole time." So, I mean, it seems like Auburn's the favorite. If you look at the whole like RPM thing, like we haven't seen any predictions that I'm aware of come in from any other analyst that he's going to pick Miami. But the fact that he postponed it, like, it's not the greatest look.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn's got, I believe, 3 edges on the roster with 1 commitment. Sorry, I'm trying to read this in my Herbert Scroggins glasses. It's giving me a little trouble here. And it's something where we've talked about. You need more bodies at this position. I feel like, I can't believe I'm thanking Brian Harsin for building a pipeline, but Benedict Military School in Savannah, that is Holden Geriner's alma mater. So this is the Brian Harsin pipeline in action. Apparently the only school he ever visited in 2 years. Shout out to that guy for that.
Well, he went to Auburn High School a bunch.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Auburn High School and Benedictine Military School in Savannah. Those two schools. So I still feel good about Auburn's chances, right? You have that pipeline to the school. I can't listen to the straight face. You've getting all the predictions. The crystal ball's a 6 on 247. You get the RPM prediction, but the fact that he postponed the commitment after Miami tells us there's probably one more conversation to be had with each school where you kind of go over some of the financial packages and figure out how that does that impact my final decision? It sounds like some last minute, I'm going to assume, bags were thrown here. So, okay.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Miami's been known to have bags to throw for sure. The edge position is interesting. So Zion Grady, is one of the top players in the state, according to, On3 and Rivals and 247. He was crystal balled. No, it was Wiltfong. It was a Fong bomb to go to Ohio State. And there's some assumptions that, okay, the Jared Smith hype to Auburn, like there's some smoke there that Auburn feels good about Jared Smith now, which is a good situation, if you're in the Jared Smith over Zion Grady camp. So you're going to see them try to get multiple edge rushers in this class. And, there's some talk about how they're going to use the edge players already committed. JJ Falk, like, is he actually a linebacker? They may try him at multiple places, but, Jared Smith is a name that, I mean, whoever they scout and want, I think that's kind of, who Auburn fans need to say, okay, cool, we're fine with them being in the class. I'm of the mindset of get as many edge defenders as you possibly can. It's so important of a position because you have to be able to rush the passer in the SEC to win. And as you like to say, depth will always work itself out, especially with the transfer portal.
Yep.
But if Auburn possibly backed off of Zion Grady and that kind of triggered the Ohio State prediction, I don't know. But if that's the case, Jared Smith is certainly on my radar right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter who commits. Obviously, the players matter. It's the Jims and Joes more so than the X's and O's. But I would feel more comfortable about the class were you to get somebody who you were pretty confident would be an edge at the next level. Because again, you've got questions about the existing commitment, moving to linebacker and things like that. For everything I've seen from Herbert Scroggins, he looks like he has the potential to be a really good player. At this point, I'm not necessarily picky. I just want the comfort of knowing there's someone. At the same time, back to our first segment, it doesn't matter if somebody commits somewhere else right now, because we know Hugh Freeze and this staff, Josh Aldridge and all these guys, are still going to be in this. So many dudes want to come play for DJ Durkin. So many guys want to join what Hugh Freeze is building in Auburn. And so even if you don't get Herbert Scroggins right now, you've still got plenty of time between now and signing day to flip him and get him into the class And if you can hurt a random ACC school by taking what's probably going to be their best commit, and just do that too. That's more fun.
Sure. Lindsay, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. It's the hub for everything. The Auburn baseball writing, auburndaily.com. The Atlanta Braves writing, bravestoday.com.
Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, we plan to talk about the tight ends, but we kept talking about all the recruiting. So we'll touch on that later in the week. Be sure to like the video. Really helps the channel. Please subscribe. We'll talk soon. Tomorrow even. Right here on Locked On Auburn.